So we are working on a generator. I believe this is a 20 or 25K generator. Let's see what we got here. Anyhow, it's a really old style generator, which parts are running out for. And this was a Powertech original generator from many years ago, and I think they used different stators and everything nowadays. And this is the problem we're having. This right here is the shutdown solenoid and the run solenoid both. And what happened is this one fails. Now this product, of course, after 25 years is no longer available. And now we have a kit that they offer. And I got the kit from Powertech, the company itself. And we have to take this piece here off, and then we have to get into the injector pump, and we have to do some work on this injector pump. And a bracket goes on here, and there's a solenoid that goes on here. We have to maybe move a fuel line here and there. So it doesn't look to be like that much of a process, but I'm going to kind of do a step-by-step. I'm not the best person with the camera, but I hope that I will make it at least something you can follow if you need to do this. So I'll be back. So the first step in our process is we're going to remove this rod. And that whole rod is going to come off with this inoperative solenoid. So my helper Scott is going to try to do this without swearing. It's got a real tight nut on it, double nutted, and it's a real pain in the butt, I think. Can you get a 3/8 wrench in there?
Yeah.
So let me see. Let me get a 3/8 wrench. That's fine, I got it right there. Grab a 3/8 wrench. Try that.
Pushes back.
Try that. Does that work? Yep. Hopefully it's good enough. Yeah, I told you I'm not a good camera guy. Scott's a camera truck driver. He should be one running the camera, right? Or he can just drive. I don't know. Going the wrong way. Righty tightsy, leftsy loosey. Is it stripped out probably?
A little bit.
Oop. The other way. There you go. 1 hour later.
Yeah, no doubt. Here we go.
So we don't need these parts anymore. The whole process of doing this is to remove all these old parts that were on here. And so you don't need to save the screws or worry about the screws. The new kit comes with all the little brackets and clips and all the rest of the stuff involved. I've never done one like this before, and Scott certainly hasn't done one. He lost the first screw. And I'm hoping this is going to be easy enough for anybody if they ever run across this project. It looks easy. I think the only thing we have to maybe have a struggle with is parts of the wiring. We'll have to figure out how that works. So, but we'll get to it as soon as we get this off. I'll get back to you. So on this side, see that little, you see the little pin that we have to pop out? Right there is a drift pin, and it's just going to go, and we're going to knock that pin out. And when we knock that pin out, this piece here will separate from the rest of the control, So what we're going to do is just knock that pin out this way, take this off, and then we're going to be able to take these 4 bolts off, and then be careful about not losing nothing inside. So Scott's going to get in there and learn a new trade right now, because I'm sure it's not going to be the easiest thing to get that pin out. Give her a whack. Hopefully it doesn't hurt that shaft at all. It should be easy enough to pound out, because it is a split pin. So but it might take two of us, one to hold it and one to tap it out. So it's moving.
Yeah.
There it is. I see it. So you might not have to take that all the way out so it doesn't drop, you know. So that wasn't horrible, was it, Scott?
Not at all.
So now you might need those pliers to pry that, to pull that piece off. I don't know how, if it's rusted on that shaft or anything like that. So it's all new. So I'll get back to you when we get that bad boy off. So that piece came off pretty easy. Once the pin came out, we just kind of wiggle it around a little bit, and it's really nothing more than a shaft. We'll have to make sure that there's not a bad seal on that shaft, and if there is, I hope the kit comes with a new one. So now the next step is, according to the directions, there's going to be the 4 bolts that hold this thing on, and all this does is run a lever on the inside that turns the injector pump on and off. That's all. That's the whole purpose of that. And then we're going to slowly take that off, because I have no idea what's really behind it. So whenever I do something like this, it's just you know, don't go nuts, don't pry, don't, just, you know, take it off slowly and securely to make sure you don't lose nothing. So we got the cover off, we got it all nicely cleaned up. This rod here is what runs against all the controls that turn the injector pump on and off. That's all, that's the whole purpose of this. There's an adjustment right here that allows it to only open so much.
We're rolling.
Yeah, rolls. And according to this kit, since it's the year of this engine, there's this little stainless washer goes on. That's fine. Let the idiots talk. And then we got this bracket. Now this bracket is going to hook up to this little bad boy right here, and that's what's going to make the whole difference, instead of having that long rod. So it's just another way of opening and closing. So before we go too much further, I think we're going to put this on here, down here, instead of trying to do it on the engine, only because it may be easier, just because of it moving around all over the place. So we're going to do that, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're done. So we got the new bracket on. There was a little shim washer that went in there, and we tried that, and when we put the pin in, the pin and that washer made it so tight that this would not operate. So we took it back out, and now this has to be in the up position according to the directions, and that has to be in the down position. So now there's a gasket that goes behind it, and once we get done putting that in, we're going to use the factory bolt, goes right here, and then the gasket obviously goes on, and then this bracket will go into here like this, and we'll show you what that looks like when it's all connected. So it looks like a pretty actually nice installation. Someone actually did some nice engineering on this, and let's see how it works. So now we do the bracket with the gasket and the 3 new bolts and the 1 old bolt. So the bracket, which was very easy to bolt on, this is the second part that you put on. You put this piece on here with this single bolt first. Then you install this bracket with the 3 bolts. You leave that one loose until this is all installed, And now this right here is our operating. And myself, this is how I want to do it. I want to start it right now and make sure that the operating mechanical part of it is correct before we go any further. To make sure we didn't do anything wrong. And that's what we will do. So this is what the final installation looks like. Like I said, the solenoid just bolts to this bracket. And there's a pin right here that goes in. 3 wires that we used. One's ground, and then one's a hold wire, and one's what they call a pull wire. So what we ended up doing is somewhere along the line someone had added these switches, or maybe that's the way it came, but it has designation on how to work. Now obviously when you flip this on, it makes the whole thing power up, which in turn activates this. Now this is powered directly to the battery, along with this being powered directly to the battery. One of the wires to activate this relay, a Bosch style relay, comes from the start switch. And the reason that it does, that comes from the on switch. It's an on power all the time. This Bosch relay is constant power, and that goes to the hold wire on the solenoid for the injector pump. Now what that is once it is activated by this solenoid, which is the white wire, as soon as this activates and deactivates, this wire becomes hot and cold, and that's operated by the start switch. Now, according to the directions, this wire, they say, it's like a temporary on. They say shuts off within 1 second, but it can't possibly do that with a diesel because it just doesn't start up in 1 second. But as soon as we hit the start button, this solenoid is activated, which powers up this wire, which in turn pulls this. Now, what happens after that is, as soon as the generator starts and you release this button, because this is in the on position and it has to be on to even run, that activates this relay, which powers up this red wire, and that in turn powers up the hold part of this solenoid. Now, when I first put it together, it didn't work. And what I had found out, that this solenoid has to be completely depressed all the way as far as it can possibly go, otherwise this hold part of this solenoid will not operate. So I had to adjust this little thing here to make sure that this pulled completely in to full depth, and then as soon as I did that, it worked fine. Now I'm gonna try to start it to activate so you can kind of watch what's going on. So I have started it up. I've started, turned the on position. Now I'm going to hit this, and you're going to watch the solenoid activate. So as soon as I turn this down, this one down. As soon as I do that, this relay releases, which releases the hold, and as soon as I do that, the whole thing shuts down. So I know I'm not a good photographer, videographer, what do you want to call this, but I hope that you at least glean some kind of input on how this would have to be done if you are going to be doing it instead of me. So, good luck.